Hello, I'm Ashley, and I'm going to be creating another video today. This is my second one. I just feel the need to talk about shedding the ego, and this is just coming up for me too. Like, just when I think that I've released every layer, or I've shed every layer, there's just another one waiting there for me. It's like a never-ending process, I guess. And that's the whole point, is to just continue to grow. And we always think that once we reach a certain point, then we'll be where we want to be. But what I'm just learning right now is that we just have to want to be right here, right now. And I know it's how could I have not known that? Especially on the spiritual path, how could I have not known that? That's the ultimate goal, is to just be happy in the present moment. So, our ego wants to act out. It's not even acting out. Sometimes it can be the wounded inner child. And so it is acting out. But for me, I'm just realizing that it's just scared. My mind is just scared because it doesn't know where it's going. It doesn't have it's losing its grip. It's hold on to me, and I'm no. And so, I just want to talk about because now I'm just more emotionally detached from shedding my ego. But before, when I was caught up in my emotions and I wasn't emotionally mature and I didn't know how to detach from my emotions, oh my gosh, the emotional healing that came with shedding the ego was it tore me up. It was rough. It was just painful. It hurt. Okay, so an example, it would just happen in spurts, or I knew that there was a time when I was letting go, because I always know when I'm resisting, but I also allow myself to move through the fear gently and with compassion and understanding for myself. And so like I said, this is an example of a time when I was really deep in the emotional healing, and I wasn't emotionally mature yet, I would say. I was making dinner one night, and I just started to get lightheaded, and at first when I first began ascension, or healing emotionally, or shedding the ego, shedding the ego is shedding attachments, and shedding attachments to people, to places, to things, to material possessions, jobs, family members. Detaching from my family members was so painful, because you love them so much, but you have to detach from them. Especially, my nephew. It's funny because I made a video earlier, which was my reading. And I was talking about how I'm living with my nephews, and I love them so much. It's funny because one was born before I had right around the time he was born, that's when my spiritual awakening was triggered, almost the catalyst for my spiritual awakening, which was my dad getting cancer. And so he came at that time, and this was before I knew anything about detachment or anything about any spiritual practices at all. Spiritual practices, whatever. I don't even consider them spiritual. I consider them practical and necessary for us to deal with the human experience. So yeah, they're spiritual, I guess, but they've helped improve my emotional health. And we're emotionally unhealthy, especially in this country. So anyway, when he was first born, so I got super attached to him. I love him so much. And so and we don't get to see him because his parents aren't together. So he comes to his dad's house, and we would get to see him 3 weekends out of the month. So we would have him 2 weeks, not have him a week, and then have him another 2 weeks in a row. Anyway, not that matters, but so it was we just cherished every moment we had with him. And because we didn't get as much time with them. So sometimes we take things for granted, especially like when they're with us, like our partners, for example, like our romantic partners. We just end up taking them for granted because they're right there all the time. And I feel like that's what this whole path about like the twin flame experience for me is happening, because it's like, can you not take things for granted? Like, or you take, for me example, like my dad. I took my dad for granted, and like losing him was like the catalyst for my spiritual awakening. So, you know, like the love is really deep. It's just like the head was in the way, the ego was in the way, and so you have to like detach from them. Like detaching from my dad was super hard. Yeah, like I said, just detaching from your family members is really hard. It's not going to be easy. So, like, I just feel like there's a lot of people that are going through ascension. There's a lot of people that are going through family healing, and, like, this is what I went through. And, like, people didn't know, like, really know about it. It's not like I was, like, public about it. I gave myself the time. That's exactly why I wasn't really active on social media at the time, because I just gave myself this space to do my healing work. And, so, anyway, like, I would... like I said, back to my point, get off track, but, the shedding the ego, I was making dinner one night, and like I said, I didn't know anything about spiritual practices, but it was normal symptoms of, like, getting lightheaded, so I was making dinner, and I got really lightheaded, and I just knew that, like, and then I just started getting really emotional, so then I had to go lay down, and I just laid in my bed, and I cried, and, like, I mean, like, bawling, not just, like, oh, I'm so sad, like, couldn't breathe, you know, like, you know how babies cry sometimes, and they don't breathe, and you're like, you gotta breathe, you gotta let out. That's how I was crying, on my bed, holding myself, and I would, like, almost, like, pull up my face, kind of, like this, like I was pulling off, like, a mask, and, it's like, I was just, like, get it off me, and I would, like, push it off my body, like, off my legs. I was like, get this off me, get it off me, get it off me, and that's all I could say, as I was crying, like, intensely, and I would just let myself, and I would lay there, and I'd cry, and sometimes I would have to lay down and just continue to lay there for a good half an hour. I mean, sometimes it would only last, like, I don't know, it depends on how, like, because it's, like, a lot of things get triggered, you know, and, especially with, like, the twin flame path, we get triggered, that's what getting triggered through, like, each other's energy, and so it's like we heal, and then you become more aware of those triggers and you heal them, and then you don't get triggered as much. Like, you still see the trigger, you still feel the trigger, but you're not reacting from a place of wounding, you're reacting from a place of unconditional love, and that's the whole point of the whole journey and the whole path, is how to love unconditionally, mostly ourselves. Like, that's why we have to be really gentle with ourselves, and we have to, like, really trust ourselves, and we have to be really in tune to ourselves and our own feelings. Because especially with, like, the twin flame path, you get, like, the love can be really strong. It's like this, I can't explain it. It's like this love I've never experienced in my entire life. I mean, if you know me and you've seen my transformation, like, this is what love looks like. This is what unconditional love looks like. Even without somebody, like, being here with me. Because it's, like, it's soul love. And so it was just like it's love from the inside out. Not love from the outside in. And, like, that's just how our relationships have become, especially here in America. We become very dependent, and we're very attached. That's why I was talking about detachment, and because, like, to me, I believe that, like, shedding the ego is really shedding attachments. And, it can be painful. It's hard to do. It's a process. You don't just, oh, I'm detached. No. Like, you have to, like, continually retrain yourself to detach from this thing, like, to not get emotionally upset when somebody, like, triggers you or says something mean about you, or in other cases just ignores you completely, you know. Like, you have to learn to understand the emotion, and then the emotion, like, won't trigger the wounding, and it will, but you just have to get really good at awareing. That's the whole point. It's like self-mastery and like self-realization. So then you just move through life a lot more easily. You're not being constantly, like, emotionally reactive to everything, and it begins to feel like things don't have control over you anymore. Like, you don't feel possessed by, like, things or people or, like, emotions. You're not they're not, like, affecting you. they don't disturb your inner peace as you begin to release these things that like tie you down. That's what I'm seeing is like somebody being tied down. And like we have to learn how to break free. It's breaking free from those attachments. So breaking free from things isn't necessarily about a physical breaking free. It's a energetic breaking free. And you break free from the energy, and then the energy isn't like part of you anymore. And then that's when you begin to shift your energy. So the more you see these things, the more you see these triggers, and the less you react from them, overly emotional. You can still react from a place of emotion, but you just can't stay stuck there. You can't talk yourself into it, like, and get yourself all worked up. You have to say, okay, this hurts. You cry. Sometimes you'll just cry for a couple minutes. Like, that's what I've noticed as I healed emotionally and shed the ego. Like, the time I spent crying got less and less and less and less. The time I spent and felt in like complete heartbreak, and like it really feels like your heart's being like torn apart, you know, like, but it's really not being torn apart. It's like well, it's like healing. You're healing your heart, and so it's just like stitching it back up. That's why they like numb you when you get stitches, because it hurts a little, you know. I mean, we could totally make it through without like any assistance in numbing the pain, but it still hurts. And so like I said, the more you begin to like mend your heart, the less time you'll spend in like distraught or despair. Because when you stay in the energies of distraught and despair, you become depressed, and then you're stuck in this. You're stuck. So to get the energy moving again, to get your energy moving again, you have to shift your thoughts. You have to shift back to, okay, everything's fine. I'm just healing this. Like, it takes a while to recognize. It takes a really long time. And actually, I'm just now getting, like, really good at it. Like, and it's funny because I always thought I was good then, but now it's like I'm turning around and I'm seeing, it's just because I'm seeing from another perspective, and I'm like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I'm just elevating to a whole new level. And so, like, I'm becoming more aware. Sorry, I have a little thing pop up on my computer. So anyway, I just want to talk about I was talking about shedding the ego, and it's just like, you can get, you'll just spend less time, sorry, I lost my train of thought. You'll spend less time, like, being in that being in that despair, and you'll switch everything is fine, and then you shift your energy back to joy, back to the present moment, because in the present moment, we're feeling joy. But when we feel a deep emotion, because that's all it is, we're just feeling deeply. When we came here to feel, we're humans, that's what we live by, like our senses, so we feel. And if we don't allow ourselves to feel these things and work through them, then they just get stuck in us, in our energy. And then we're attracting them. So the more you keep these emotions inside, the more you don't heal this energy that's within you, you'll begin to always attract outside experiences to reflect to you the energy that's still stuck inside of you. And it can be hard, it can be really tough, and it's not like if you attract something that's like bad. I don't believe anything is bad. I believe it's all a lesson, and it's just teaching you something. It's not bad. And I feel like people get into that, like, well, if I'm attracting something bad on the outside, that must mean I'm bad on the inside. You're not bad. You just probably have some wound, like some karma and some wounding this lifetime and probably a lot past lifetimes. So it's really just about like getting to the root, but not many people know how to do that. I didn't know how to do that. I just followed my intuitive guidance. So, and also, like, I found people who were going through the same experience, and so I didn't feel so alone. I'm like, okay, this is happening to other people. I guess that's why I'm sharing, because I want people to know if they are going through this, and I believe there are a lot of people going through it, that, like, you're not alone, and it's scary. It doesn't make any sense. Like, that's the thing, is it doesn't make any logical sense, and especially when I talk about, like, the twin flame experience, it doesn't make any logical sense. It defies explanation. It doesn't make any sense. And that's the whole point, is you have to learn to trust your feelings. And in order for us to move through life with more ease, we have to trust our feelings, because our feelings are our internal guidance system. So they're like a GPS. and they keep us moving. It's like a navigation, and like especially with the masculine and the feminine energy, I always see it as like a ship that's in the water, and you kind of go back and forth, but for me it feels more like the masculine energy is more like the navigation. It's like the terrain, like scoping out the land. That's what it feels like. And that's when you think about the masculine, originally they're like, you think of them as the hunters and the feminine as the gatherers. So the hunters, they go out and they work as a team, but they're more like individual, and they each have their own like role, is what it seems like. And for the feminine, I feel like they work together, and they're more like interactive with each other. And that's why it's important for women to really learn how to understand and recognize their own energy and feelings, because women have a tendency to get emotionally involved in other people because they're very empathetic, they're understanding, and so it makes them naturally drawn to other people and wanting to help them. And then sometimes that's what happens with the distorted feminine, is become like a victim, or like we want to be saved, or we want somebody to take care of us. All we have to do is take care of ourselves. And then like, so the masculine is more like, I feel like they're like looking, this is just like an image that's coming to my head, or like a scenario. It's like they're looking, you know how like the masculines are considered more like the provider, right? They provide. And this isn't just material, like practical providing. It's like emotional providing, and providing intimately, and providing all other sorts of things. So it's like the masculine, it's like they're navigating, like picking out the best place. If you think about back in the, like, before we had before we had like technology and all this stuff, like, I mean, talking about like the beginning of time. So you go there and you think about, the man was like the person who found the land and was like, okay, this is where we're gonna live, this is where we're gonna start a home. They just have those like instincts. So I feel like the masculine is just very instinctual, very animalistic, and very I don't know, it's like this, like, I'm just getting this like guardian energy, like this, like I just see it like a shield, like and it's like navigates the land and tells you, and the masculines is really good with directions naturally. I feel like they just have a very good sense of direction, because they were just designed to be like that, because they needed to be able to survive, and they needed to be able to like make camp for their families, because they provide for their families, not just like their wife and children, but sometimes like their mother and their father, and like they just have this need. It's just it's just inside of them to provide. So, but what we've done is put emphasis on providing material, and this can make the masculine feel like burnout and exhausted, because they feel like they're just not enough money, and it's not about, they want to provide, but it's not about providing the money. That's just been distorted. It's about providing the stability, and the only way they can provide stability without is if they are stable within, and that means emotionally stable, energetically stable, mentally stable, and so that's just what I see. And then like and what I'm getting, because these energies are just balancing within me, and then and like the masculine energy is more like the protection energy, so feeling really safe. And like when I'm feeling very unstable or very like unsafe, like when I'm feeling fear, especially because I'm, like going into an unknown direction, and it feels like I'm alone. It's funny though, because when this all began, side note, not all began, but just like a few months, I want to say like 6 months ago, I was like really upset, and I was just asking for guidance, and I just received this guidance back, like, it's gonna be very lonely, like, you're gonna seem like you're alone, and, but like, the message was like repetitive, like, but just remember that you're not alone, and for me, that's just so true, because I never feel alone, but whenever I am feeling like alone, or like misunderstood, or whatever, because we all have those moments, I feel safe by tapping into my own masculine energy within. The masculine energy within is like this protection energy. That's what I feel. It's like a very guardian energy. That's what I'm feeling. It's like a protection energy. And it is like my opinion that like, and my belief that like the masculine energy came to protect the feminine energy, so that the feminine energy, because our feminine energy, we live with like our heart on our sleeves, our hearts have to be open, we have to be vulnerable, and that can be really scary because we could get hurt, hurt, not just hurt physically, which has been put emphasis on. The masculine energy is like, it's not about like protecting necessarily the physical body or the physical home or the physical stuff. It's about protecting the energy, like protecting the emotions, like I said. So it's all about that. It's about getting in alignment with the energy and the feeling of security and safety within yourself. So like I said, every time I'm feeling like a little unstable, a little unsure, I take a minute, I take a break, and I go and I sink into my heart, because that's where I feel my energies, and I feel very safe, I feel very protected. And so anyway, I'm getting a little off track because I don't know where I'm going with this really, but it's like, so the feminine energies, they're just more about like, they're about gathering. So yeah, I said originally that it felt like it's like a ship on the water. So the water and the ocean is like the feminine energy. And also, the masculine energy is like the navigation, the security. And the feminine energy, I see her as, she's a light. She's a light. She's just the light. Because they're in the dark. I see them in the dark. It's like this really stormy, like, ocean. Like, and it's nighttime, it's dark, we can't see anything. Like I said, so it's like you have to learn how to trust your masculine and feminine energies. Can you trust the masculine energy? He can't, like, he can't see because it's dark. But then, like, we can't see the whole picture is what I'm getting at. Like, we can only see like 2 feet in front of us. We don't know what's out there. And so it's like, the feminine has to be the light, and you be the light by focusing on love and not focusing on the fear, because then you'll start to trigger each other. This is what it's like. It's like, if I feel fear, he begins to reflect the fear back at me. So I'm noticing now every time that, I just have to be the light. I just have to shine light, and I just have to shift my focus, shift my thoughts, everything. And then I tell myself everything's going to be okay. Like, we're going to get it through this. So it's like going on this, like, it's like a journey. It really is. It's like, and it's funny because we're like together, but we're not. But it's like, can we get through this? Can we work as a team? Can we get through this? Because we're on our boat and we can't see anything. That's just what, like, how I'm picturing it. It's very childlike, but it's the only way that I can, like, understand, like, the concept of, like, what this is what it's feeling like. And it's like we're just going through, like, different scenarios, so that, like, because eventually, like, the masculine energies are gonna come together in the physical, and they're gonna have to work together. So it's like we have to be able to trust our energies. We have to be able to trust our masculine energy. We have to be able to trust our feminine energy. So that, like I said, it's like the masculine energy is like the navigation, and the feminine energy is like the light and the gas right now. Because I feel like the masculine energy is very, like, worn out and tired is what I'm getting. Just feeling very depleted. They've been, like, the masculine energy has been so distorted, and men have been, like, killing themselves. 1, hiding their emotions, and 2, physically busting their balls, like, at jobs that are, like, killing them because they're strong and they can lift things. And I'm not saying, like, it's just ridiculous. And anyway, that's just a whole other thing I'm not going to get into. But I just am feeling like that masculine energy is feeling a little, like, exhausted. I mean, sometimes I feel exhausted too, but that's where the feminine energy comes in, and you learn how to take care of yourself and you rest. And as soon as I, like, rest and allow myself some time to get my because I'll feel myself get out of alignment, and I just have to, like, take a second to, like, come back to myself. As soon as I come back to myself, I'm that's how you, like, emotionally detach too. Because if you think about, like, the ocean, and that's how I see it in the water, it's like emotional healing, and it's just emotions. So it's like a big ocean of emotion. And like, the ocean, if you think about the ocean, it's deep and dark and, like, terrifying, but also beautiful and magical and immense and just, beautiful. So it can be both, and you can either choose to focus on the scary, like, I don't know, it's deep, it's dark, it's scary, or you can focus on the magical and the love and be like, this is so cool. It just depends on how you look at it, and that's the whole point. You have to change your perspective. And I kept, like, getting messages about changing my perspective a lot, and that makes so much sense now. Like, I don't always see it when I'm in it. Like, I am not good at, like, I'm not always, sometimes it's like, I don't know, I just, like, go through these phases where I don't really see it when I'm in it, and then all of a sudden I get clarity. But I feel like I just get too, you know, like, I just feel like you're too close to a situation, like, your face is up against the glass, you know? And so you don't see the whole picture, so you have to, like, push yourself back, and that's where you have to learn how to detach. Especially with, like, the twin flame, experience, you have, like I said, the love is so strong that you can, like, lose yourself in the other person, and, that's why you have to, like, learn how to detach and pull yourself back out, so that you're not, like, enmeshed and immersed into them, like, you're seeing clearly. It's kind of hard to explain, I guess, but I feel like that's a pretty good explanation, of what it's like, for me personally. And my throat's getting a little, I'm exercising my throat a lot by using my voice, and, I can feel like my throat chakra is just, like, really happy and excited about it, but also, like, I can tend to tense it up, because I also have fear of using my voice and, like, speaking my truth. The fear is getting less and less because I know my truth, and I'm becoming very confident, and I'm becoming very clear. I'm just seeing things, but it's like the fog is lifting. And I think astrologically there was a lot of things happening, and the reason I, like, originally made this video to talk about shedding the ego is because Pluto was, like, retrograde for a few months this, like, summer, but it went direct, I want to say sometime in, maybe it was September 30th, and Pluto is, like, the planet of, like, I want to say birth, like, rebirth, and, so anyway, it's, like, radical transformation and, like, awareness, and so I feel people are becoming aware, and they're shedding the ego, and sometimes it can freak people out, like, it freaked me out, and I thought I was weird, and I thought, like, but I just kept going with it, and, like, I've grown so much, and I've shifted so much, and I don't know, I personally developed a lot, and so that's just why I'm sharing, because it was like, I was going through all this for a reason, and, it's like, I had to go through it so I could teach other people how to go through it, if that makes sense, or, like, not necessarily teach, but share and relate, because I feel like there are a lot of people, like, we just came here for this, we came here to awaken, I believe, in this lifetime. A lot of people, not everyone, and everybody's on their own path, but I just feel like a lot of people came here to do that, just because if you look at our, like, country, and if you look at the world the way it is, like, we have to do something before this gets, like, way out of hand, and we destroy this earth, because that's where we're headed right now, and, so I just believe that there are a lot of people, a lot of light workers, or, just, yeah, there's a lot of, like, strong souls here right now, and I had no idea that I was a strong soul, and I consider myself one. I consider myself, like, a warrior. That's what always keeps me going. I'm like, you're a warrior. I tell myself that. And, like, it's just hard. It's, like, shedding the ego is really just, like, also, like, realizing the deception and, like, the ways that you lie to yourself and the way you keep yourself small. And you just begin to, once you shed the ego, you begin to realize that you're limitless. And so, you just start to act in accordance to your limitlessness. And, you believe that you can do anything. And if you can believe it, you can achieve it. And, so anyway, if you, like, and you have to tell yourself, like, you'll just notice yourself growing. The more you begin to shed the ego, like, okay, so I like to compare this a lot to, like, my weight, too. I've lost a lot of weight, and really, I see my weight lost as energy that I cleared, if that makes sense. It's like all this baggage I was carrying, all this energy I was carrying manifested as physical weight on my body. All the weight I was carrying around for people, it manifested as physical weight on my body. Because I was taking it on for people so they didn't have to feel it. That's just, I have that energy. And, like, especially as healers and as empaths, we don't want the people we love to feel what they're feeling. And so we're like, okay. And then we think that we are somehow responsible for making them feel good about themselves, or making them happy, or making sure that they feel joy, while neglecting ourselves. And that's the whole point of, like, detaching from your family members, which I mentioned in the beginning, which can be really hard. I always felt like especially over my dad and my brother, I just always felt like very motherly. I know I've definitely been my brother's mother in another lifetime, and I've also, I believe I've been my dad's mother in another lifetime. Because we just have, like, these, like, I feel like a caregiver sometimes for them, and that can be hard to, like, take on, and it's like I don't even do it intentionally. I just want to make sure they're okay. But it's funny because they both do the same thing to me, so I think that's, like, just some family karma. Like, they feel this responsibility to, like, make sure I'm okay, like, and so we just do it both to each other. So it's like you have to detach from that and know that it's not your responsibility to make them happy, or like, they like to make them, like, feel good about themselves and to make them feel worthy while draining yourself. You can still do it, but the point is like, especially for me, I was neglecting myself and giving everything away. And that's why, like, receiving is really hard for me. That's why receiving is a huge lesson for me. I have to learn how to receive, and one, not feel guilty for it, and two, to, like, believe that I'm worthy enough to receive, that I deserve to receive. And it's really uncomfortable. It's really effing uncomfortable. So yeah. Anyway, so a lot of, like, the letting go and the detaching is less about physical. And it's more about the energetic letting go and the emotional letting go to the attachments. And so that's really what shedding the ego is about. And I think that's it. I'm at 31 minutes, so I'm going to try to keep these shorter, because I'm going to start just, like, going on, I don't want to call them rants, but I just want to get this out. So, and actually I think I'll share it later. But anyway, yeah, this is what I just wanted to share about shedding the ego. And, like, if you're experiencing any symptoms like that, like lightheadedness, or, like, sometimes it was like I'd get disoriented and it's just, like, normal. Like, you're not weird, like, you're not crazy, you're not losing your mind. And actually you are losing your mind. Shedding the ego is losing the mind, but what you're falling into is your heart. And so it's just like, yeah, it can be a terrifying drop into the heart. It's going to be terrifying if you've never been there. If you've never been in your heart, it's unfamiliar. So to, like, drop into your heart, and to trust your heart is just completely unknown. And, like, you develop so much strength, though, and so much confidence, and so much self-love, and so much self-respect, and you just live with greater peace and fulfillment. And I think that's what we're all searching for, is fulfillment, and, like, this sense of success and accomplishment, and just being a human. Just living this experience as an accomplishment is success to me. Like, learning how to move through this experience in a way that's in integrity, and that's from a place of peace and a place of, like, love. I feel like that's the ultimate goal of the human experience, is to move through it like that. And not most of us don't know how to do that, and I learned how to do it. So that's why I'm sharing my experience and sharing what I've gone through, because it's been intense, and it feels like I'm finally coming out of the tunnel. You know, like, the light at the end of the tunnel. It's like I could see it for so long, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just not there. And I got so caught up in the timing, and I'll just be going through another tunnel, who knows when, you know. But, like, right now, it's like I'm finally seeing the light. And I'm just understanding things so much better. So much clearer, is what I should say. Not better, it's just clear. It's more clear. And it's just a really good feeling. And, like, I'm just proud of how far I've come, and the work that I've put in, and the work, you know. And people don't understand, like, shadow work is, like, work, but for me it is work. And it's taken, you know, this has been a process for me for the last, like, getting close to 4 years now. That's crazy to think about. Like, at the time, I didn't know that I was experiencing a spiritual awakening. I didn't know. Not until about probably, like, a year and a half later did I know. But like I said, when I found out about my dad having cancer, that was, like, everything came flooding back, and so that's when it like began. But I didn't understand what was happening. I just thought it was just grief. That's it. That's what it was. The grief is what catalyzed my spiritual awakening. I had to learn how to cope in a new way. I had to learn how to live in a different way so that I could deal with the death of my father. Because it's transformation. So it's not just about leaving the physical body and transforming into the spiritual realms, like, because you're just exchanging, you're just leaving one dimension and going to another. Because like the soul can't die. It's just like rebirth is the same thing. Like and like shedding the ego, because shedding the ego, there's just a part of you dying. It's like shedding, like, snakes, they shed skin, and snakes are a representation of like rebirth and transformation, and so we're just shedding layers, but we're still the same. You're just shedding layer, and then you move, and then you shed another layer eventually. That's just especially what the feminine energy is about. And like shedding the ego, you spend a lot of time in your feminine energy because you have to learn to nurture yourself so that you can get through it. Because if you don't learn to nurture yourself and take care of yourself and tell yourself how much you love yourself and how proud you are of yourself, you won't make it through, because you're going to want the outside world to validate you, and it never will. And so what you have to do is learn how to validate yourself, and that's the whole point. Because when we can validate ourselves, and we don't need some outside source, whether it's in the material realm or in a relationship, we have to learn to validate ourselves and validate our own existence. Otherwise, we'll never feel seen by another. And to be able to see another, we have to be able to see ourselves, and we can't see when our egos are so big. We can't see ourselves clearly when our egos are so big. So the more we shed our ego, layer after layer, year after year, and I feel like, I don't know, it's just going to be different for every person. Every person's process is going to be so different. That's what makes it so, like, beautiful, because it's going to be so unique, and every person is going to have their own story to tell, but we're all going to be able to relate at the core. We're all going to be able to relate at the root. Everybody's experience is going to be different, but the feelings that are coming up for people, we're going to be able to relate through those. And like family situations, like it's just nice to hear like what other people go through, and like, but not comparing it to my story, or not thinking my story is any less valid, or that my experience is any less like, I don't know, like, just a lot of like how people grow is just so different. Like, whereas I need like extreme contrast to grow, maybe somebody else doesn't need that. It's just like we're so unique, and like our personalities, because we have a soul and we have a personality, and they have to learn how to work together, and that's the whole point of being a human. It's awesome. It's like, it really is like an avatar. And when you guys are working together, and I say you guys, it's like the mind and the heart, which the mind, the logic, is a representation of the masculine, and the heart is a representation of the feminine. And so when their energies are working together within, then you become much more balanced. And when you're balanced in your own energies, you begin to attract balanced situations or experiences on the outside. And so, okay, I'm really going to end it. It's been 40 minutes, and I'm just going to keep talking. So I hope that was helpful. So if you're shedding the ego, if you're having like a lot of emotions come up, or you're like feeling triggered, or you're feeling lonely, or you're feeling depressed, or you're feeling abandoned, or you're feeling rejected, you just have to look a little deeper, and you just have to be really gentle with yourself, and you'll be able to get through it. I promise, because I was able to, and I thought I was going to die it just felt like I was dying. That's honestly what it felt like. And I feel like that's the whole point, because our ego is dying, so that we can live from our hearts, because we need to. For this earth, for this country, we need to live from our hearts. So if you're interested in following your heart, just be prepared for what you ask for. Because like I said, even with the twin flame experience, this is not something I would have gone out searching for. No way. Nope. I would have never. But it just happened, and this is how I dealt with it, and it's just what we have to do. We have to learn how to like cope with and deal with the things that we're experiencing, and this is just what's worked for me. So this is just what I went through, and Okay, that's it. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'm sending lots of love and lots of healing energy if you're going through like some emotional healing and some, like rough times, because I feel you. But I'm just, like I said, a little bit more emotionally detached now, so it's not like it doesn't consume me anymore as much. I can let it flow and move past pretty freely. So, take care of yourself, and I'm sending lots of love.